What is going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden J here. What's going on, everyone? I hope we are all doing extremely well. I am, I guess, kind of most certainly doing well to some extent. Obviously, there was some unfortunate news just released in regards to the MLB lockout just about 5-10 minutes ago on Twitter. So we definitely will be going over that. We have some good stuff to talk about in regards to the MLB lockout, what's going on with spring training. We know that a lot of minor league players have started to reporting, so we will touch on that. I do want to touch on the Matt Harvey situation. I know that's kind of a sensitive topic a little bit, but I kind of want to express some of my thoughts on that. Obviously, with the lockout, all that's going on. And of course, as always, Q&A style, viewing all of your guys' comments, questions, and concerns. I do definitely want to get into that. But before we get started into today's stream, everyone, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications. If you are new to the channel, make sure you do that. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns regarding, I guess at this rate, anything Major League Baseball related, please feel free and drop it in the chat. I know we've been kind of hustling on the channel these last couple days. I know that content and just what's going on with baseball has been really questionable these last couple days. Sorry, I'm looking down. I'm trying to pull up my Twitter because I do kind of want to read off of, I guess, what is going on with that. And whoops, my computer thing just crashed. But yes, we are going to get into that. So I guess let's stop wasting any more time and let's dive right into it. So as we know, it was pretty much just announced, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes ago via pretty much everyone on Twitter that the MLB spring training will be delayed. Not much of a surprise, really. We know, obviously, why. I don't really need to say why it was delayed. We all know why. Obviously, the MLB lockout, very unfortunate, but hey, that's really what it seems to be. So obviously, the MLB spring training season, I guess you want to say, will be delayed for all 30 teams. It will be delayed. It will be starting as of right now on March 5th. That is the date that I guess you could say Rob Manfred is hoping to give. So that is going to be really interesting. We're going to have to see how it goes along with that. As of right now, I mean, there's a ton of stuff on Twitter. I'm going to try and pull it up. I do definitely want to talk about that. I know my Wi-Fi is a little bugging right now. I do apologize if I'm going a little in and out. They're doing some work on my street outside. But in regards to what is going on with the lockout, obviously there has been pretty much everyone on Twitter has pretty much been reporting what went on, and I guess I'll read I guess the most common tweet. So obviously it was just put out saying that Major League Baseball announces the delay of spring training games. They will not start earlier than March 5th. In addition, the MLB owners and the Players Association are to meet Monday for an in-person meeting, and they will meet every single day this week. And then they pretty much stated out, saying that there will be refunds. Games will no longer be starting no earlier than Saturday, March 5th. And all 30 clubs will obviously be funding the players for, travel expenses, uniforms, inconveniences, and obviously the fans, because people like myself and some other YouTubers, we bought some tickets to go. I'm down in Florida, but a lot of people bought plane tickets. A lot of people bought game tickets to go, and I had 2 tickets ready to go for the Mets and Astros and Mets and Nationals, and unfortunately that will not be able to happen because those are well before that deadline. So very unfortunate, but hey, that's what really seems to happen. They pretty much stated that now they have a sense of urgency, and I find that completely barbaric. I find that completely arbitrary that now they are starting to feel that things need to be, I guess, feeling to have a sense of urgency. Pretty much they just put out saying that now they want to get things done because now that both sides are having a sense of urgency. And what I find completely silly about this is, I mean, don't get me wrong, there should definitely be a sense of urgency, but what would we be doing for all of December? I mean, this stuff should have started in December. The lockout started on December 2nd at midnight. Starting then, they didn't do anything. From December 2nd to like March 13th, 14th, whatever it was, well, I guess we'll say Martin Luther King Day. I think that's a fair day to go around. They didn't do anything. And that is what I don't understand. That is completely foolish. They should have started these operations as early as possible. I I don't know. I really don't know. Overall, just really, 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 really just foolish overall. That's really all I'm going to say. But yeah, I guess let's get into some of the chat. I see you guys have been dropping a couple questions and I guess statements in the chat. So I do definitely want to, I guess, get into that. So we definitely will be doing that. So if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, definitely do that. But let's get into the chat a little bit. What's going on? Ibindo, Santiago, Trey, Mr. Cool, Boomer, Karen, Mark, Kobe, Marco, Super Sad. I feel ya. Christopher, Kenny, Trey with our first, I guess, longer comment of the day says, I am hearing that Francisco Alvarez wants to make his debut this season. What's the likelihood that happens? Well, that's a pretty good question, man. As of right now, I did see that statement. I know Francisco Alvarez. I didn't really watch the press conference with him, but I did see that he has ambitions to, I guess, make his debut this season. Good for him. That's good news. If I'm being realistic, I don't see that happening to an extent. Well, I could see him maybe getting a September call-up, but I cannot in any world see him being called up in the beginning of the season. I think you look at catchers, you look at catching prospects. And listen, I get it. How old is Francisco Alvarez? Francisco Alvarez is... How old? Francisco Alvarez is 20 years old. He just turned 20. His birthday is in November. So he just turned 20 years old. I get it. That's great. One thing that I've stated in the past that I want the New York Mets to do is start calling up guys a lot younger. We see a lot of these guys. Pete Alonso, for example, he's like 27 already, 28 almost. I think he's like 26, actually. He didn't get called up till he was like 24. I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, 25, 26, 27 is when we're seeing a lot of these guys on the farm get called up. Start calling these guys up sooner. You know, and that, I guess, is my biggest thing for the Mets is I want these guys to start being called up sooner. I don't understand really why the Mets call up their prospects so late. You know, listen, I understand you're not going to have like your 20-year-old Juan Sotos or, you know, your 21-year-old Ronald Acuna Jr.'s. I get that. But get these guys in these situations and just start to develop them. Start to develop them, and it could really, really, really just get these guys a lot farther than I'm guessing what they are hoping. Yeah, I mean, that's really all I'm going to say. I mean, hopefully they can, I guess, start doing that. My biggest thing with catching prospects is you got to be a little peculiar about, because it's not like he's an outfielder or an infielder. This is my issue. He's a catching prospect. Alvarez, his offense, he is on fire. I think he is mostly developed, and he has plenty of more time to develop from the offensive standpoint. He has insane power. He could hit really well. I'm not worried about that. It's the defense. For catchers, I would like his defense to be, his defensive metrics are not bad. But I would like him to work a little bit more as a catcher who's only 20 years old and has spent only a little bit amount of time in the minor leagues to work on some of that. Work on his frame rate more. Work on, blocking the balls, calling a game behind the plate. That is one thing that I want, Alvarez to really have locked down. Because it seems, and I was talking about this last night, with some of my friends, is that McCann is not the future. I'm sorry, but McCann is not the future. It's Alvarez. People say Mazika. Okay, I don't really picture him as an everyday starter. I think he's more of your second alternate or third alternate, kind of sharing time with Nito. There's Hayden Senger, who the only reason I actually know about that dude is because we share the same name. He's a catching prospect in the Mets system. I couldn't tell you a single thing about him. I know a little bit about him, but as of right now, Alvarez is the guy to focus on. I could see him getting a September call-up, but I really can't picture him. I really can't picture Alvarez being called up in April. I just think that would be really, really rare if that's the case. But we'll see, man. Trust me, Trey, I would love that, but I don't see that being the case. So yeah, I know I was going to talk about it, but I saw you commented it, so I figured we would discuss it when Kobe brings it up. So yeah, I mean, obviously we all do know what went down with Matt Harvey. I mean, we all know what went down with it. Obviously, going to get a little PG-13, unfortunately. But obviously, with Matt Harvey, we all know what went down, and I don't need to go over the full story. Super sad. I mean, I never really would have thought that there would have been anywhere in the world that Matt Harvey was involved with Tyler Skaggs when he passed away in 2019 with the Angels. I knew they were on the same team, but I mean, hey, who would have think of that? Nobody would. This is my thing with Harvey is that I guess going down memory lane, when the Mets called him up in, 2013, and he put up insane numbers for a rookie. I mean, just insane numbers for a rookie. I mean, it was just incredible. Really was. And I mean, you really thought Matt Harvey was going to be part of the Mets' future long-term. And I'm going to say long-term because, unfortunately, he only had so many years where he was with the Mets and was dominant. I mean, in 2013, you had DeGrom developing. You had Wheeler developing in the farm. You had Syndergaard developing in the farm, but I believe he was with the Blue Jays then. And then I guess 2016 is really when, unfortunately, after that surgery, that's kind of when it got the best of him. As of right now, with Matt Harvey, I think it's safe to say we all knew he was a party goer. We all knew that Matt Harvey liked to have a little too much fun, whether that's drinking a lot or doing some things that maybe wasn't the best or smartest thing for him to do. He was a very rambunctious person, I guess, in the city, and we knew that, but we didn't know it was to that high of an extreme. But I mean, and it's just really crazy that there was the famous when he kept bleeding his nose on the mound, and everyone making memes of it and calling him, oh, the Dark Knight is so powerful, he's bleeding, yada yada yada. Little did we know that's from something he did in the dugout, just before games, and that really goes to show you how addicted he was, unfortunately, to that. So, like I said, really unfortunate. I really question, are there things that the Mets knew that they didn't know? Like I said, the Wilpons kind of just threw this under the bus. I mean, him and Terry Collins had a relationship, and, unfortunately, Matt Harvey talked about some things that, how he wanted to end his addictions, and unfortunately, they weren't the most positive ways. And, he spoke with Terry Collins, and Terry Collins, came out these last couple of days and spoke about those issues. But overall, I mean, just really, really, really sad. Even regardless if Matt Harvey is going to play, I don't think any team is going to sign him, regardless of that. But I think he'll probably be banned from MLB for at least 60 games or so for violating their drug and their drug treatment policies, whatever you want to call it. So he'll probably be suspended for that. But regardless, I think he's done. I don't really think he's willing to play any more games, especially after that. I hope he can get the help he needs. And, I guess that's really all. We'll leave it at that for now. Super sad news, Alex. I'm assuming you're talking about the lockout because I think you commented that before. But, yeah, definitely both of these are super sad. I agree. Cal, what's going on? Marco, so let's get on to some happier topics. So Marco says, what starting pitching should the Mets sign, Kershaw or Rhoda? Well, that's a good question. So if you're giving me only those two guys to go after, probably Rhoda. Listen, they're both lefties, so I mean that would be an argument for me, but unfortunately they're both lefties, so that argument is kind of out the window right now. As of right now, what I am liking about Rodon is, I don't know, it's really tough. Both of these guys had a rough season from the injury standpoint. Obviously, they were dominant to the most part. Unfortunately, Kershaw got a little fatigue in the postseason with Scherzer, but Rodon really was dominant for the most part in the season. He struggled a little bit in September, but my problem with Rodon is that he wants a long-term deal. And I don't feel comfortable, or I should say, I don't think the Mets are going to be comfortable giving whatchamacallit. I don't think the Mets are going to be comfortable giving Rodon a long-term deal because he wants anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7 years. And that's is a long-term deal, in my opinion, to an extent. And why wouldn't you want to give Rodon a long-term deal? Well, that's a good question. And the answer to that is that Rodon literally has been in the major league system for 6 years. He didn't play his first full season until this year because he had a constant injury stints. And I mean, really, he started being dominant once he had that no-hitter in like the first week of April. I think it was like the first week of the season pretty much. And, that's really how it is. I just don't feel comfortable giving Rodon a long-term deal because I think health and, the health factor is going to be seriously big for him. So that is my biggest concern. Obviously, he seems to have his stuff. He has that nice slider changeup combination. But then getting into Kershaw, I mean, Kershaw could definitely be nice. He's a cheaper deal than I guess maybe some other guys out there. He's not what he used to be, but he's still dominant, I feel. I mean, maybe not the best postseason pitcher. I mean, he cured that in 2020, I guess, if you want to count that. I guess I personally would. But, I mean, overall, as of right now, it's Rodon. Like I said, there's not a whole lot of top-tier starting pitchers on the market. I mean, a lot of them signed before the lockout, whether that's Gausman, whether that's Ray, whether that's Scherzer, who we did land. A lot of these guys signed before the lockout. And that's why I said go after the starting pitching and the elite pitching before the lockout, because once the lockout goes on, your options are going to be very limited. And unfortunately, that was the case. There are plenty other options, though. Personally, I have Kershaw staying with the Dodgers. The fact that they lost Scherzer, listen, you got the rotation of Buehler. That's great. You got Urias. That's great. Good guys there. But I would really think it would be foolish for the Dodgers to lose both of those guys. They're going to bring back Kershaw. Maybe if Kershaw is to leave, I could see him going to the Rangers, and that's literally it. Rodon, I don't know. A part of me is thinking that the White Sox, have a good rotation. You have Giolito. I don't know. As of right now, those two guys, it would be Rodon. Trey, what's going on? Trey says, should Nimmo play center field? I will say his defense improved a lot last season and seems to read the ball much better. Yeah, it's a good question, man. I know that, it was just actually spoke about earlier today when, what's his face? Brandon Nimmo, we saw that Brandon Nimmo is down here in Florida, and he has been practicing. He was at his training facility in Miami because, unfortunately, he can't use the Mets spring training or the Mets training facilities. And he pretty much stated that he would like to play center field and that he feels that he grew over that position in the last season. Overall, I will agree with you. I really will say his defensive metrics look much better than, I guess, what they have been in the past. He seems to read the ball much better. I know he had that one great catch against the Pirates where he robbed, I forgot who, I want to say it's Brian Reynolds maybe. Overall, a really, really, really solid glove out there in Brandon Nimmo. My only issue is you have Marte, and you have Marte who, how old is Starling Marte? And Starling Marte is, a center fielder and has been in the past. Marte is 33 years old, so I think it's going to be questionable as do you put Nimmo or do you put Marte out there? This is my issue with, I guess, both of those. Nimmo in the past. We know that Nimmo, yes, we said he was good defensively this season. We know that he made a couple nice catches, robbing, I would say, 2 or 3 home runs this season. The reason to that is he plays really far back and look. He plays really far back. He plays really close to the warning track. And my issue with that is when you're in certain situations, okay, yeah, maybe during the regular season it may not matter as much, but if you're in the playoffs or something, or I guess honestly in extra innings or just in a really bad situation where you have a runner in scoring position or someone really fast at the plate who has speed, whether that's a Trey Turner, whether that's someone with like Lindor style speed, is that all you need is a nice BABIP. And we saw so many times this past season where, Nimmo was playing so far back and a ball would come in between, I don't know, maybe 60 feet back from second base. And you would see Nimmo running all the way because he's on the warning track. You would see him constantly running all the way in. And then you would see McNeil or Lindor or whoever was playing second base, be running all the way back into the outfield because Nimmo is, chilling, because Nimmo is pretty much chilling on the warning track. So that's going to be my big concern, in my opinion, for Brandon Nimmo. That's going to be my concern for Nimmo. As of right now, I like Marte. I'm thinking maybe what the New York Mets could do with the situation is you could always have Nimmo out there, like I said, and then you could put Marte in left. The thing is with Nimmo is I don't know if he has the arm for right field. he definitely has the arm for left field. So it's either center or left. And then maybe you could put a guy like Marte in right field or left field for now and start off. If it doesn't work out for either or, then you switch. Maybe you have Marte start off in center. You have him for 4 years, maybe the first year or two, you put him in center, and then he'll be a little bit older. So maybe, his athleticism, his speed may not be what it used to be. And then you could probably put Nimmo back. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. We're honestly going to have to see how that really goes. What's going on, Cal? Cal says, I think the lockout should be negotiated through the season. I understand having the lockout gives both sides leverage to give in, but it's coming to a point where it's too much. Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I was saying, well, why don't they just do that? And, well, if they did that, that would pretty much mean that they would be extending the CBA for another year. And, like you kind of said, when you have a lockout, you I guess you have more leverage and you have more reason to cave on either side. And as of right now, I would love for that to happen. Maybe if it's not ending the lockout, maybe if they want the season to start on time, or at least spring training to start to get underway, is you could start to lift some things where you could start to let maybe a couple free agents maybe talk with their agents and talk with some teams. They don't have to sign a deal, but maybe just start talking. Or yet better, the New York Mets. Here's a great example. Buck Showalter. He's never even spoken with his players. He's never had the chance to speak to Pete Alonso, Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, Brandon Nimmo, Kevin Pillar. He's never had the chance to speak to his guys. Jeremy Hefner, pitching coach, has yet to have the chance to speak to his new pitching, his new arm, Max Scherzer. Eric Chavez, the hitting coach, he hasn't been able to speak to any of the guys. And he's new, so it's not like, he just has to speak to the new guys. It's all the guys. And of course, you have your new guys like your Marte, like your Canna, like your Escobar. And I'm sure the players want to meet each other. They're not allowed to speak. So maybe MLB, the MLB could try and lift something so that players can start going to spring training and start doing workouts, or yet better, just be able to speak to each other and able for the coaching staff to speak with their players. That's what I'm hoping. Listen, I'm not saying, they have to do this. But yeah, just start to lift some stuff. That's all. Because, if they want to get this stuff on time, they're going to have to start to I guess, let some things go. And I'll say the MLB owners have been a little generous the last couple of days, I'll say, with the draft compensation, the DH, luxury cap. I'll say. So I think definitely the players union should start to, I guess, cave in on a couple things. Karen says, I was really never a fan of Matt Harvey, but it's sad. Yeah, I agree. Kobe says it's really upsetting what happened to Harvey. Mets fans had no idea. Like I said, there's so many things that go on in baseball, not even the Mets, but just Major League Baseball teams where crazy stuff happens, whether it's substance abuse or, anything, mistreatment. Guys not being able to get surgery. It's happened. Jed Larry, for example. The Mets said he would be sued if he got leg surgery. Just stuff like that. Obviously, I don't think that is as bad as this situation, but yeah. I agree with you, Ivandos. Michael, what's going on? Michael says, I really hope the lockout ends soon because having 60 games in 2020, then this just doesn't feel right for now. Yeah, dude, I agree with you. You have the 2020 season and then this. Just get some things already. I agree. Trey says, should the New York Mets sign Kenley Jansen? That's a good question. Yeah, as of right now, I think Kenley Jansen is a fair bullpen option. This is my only problem with Kenley Jansen, though, is right now you have that closer role locked down in Edwin Diaz, and I've pretty much kind of said in the past is that I don't think the Mets could lose Diaz because what you've invested in has been so much right now. You pretty much traded away a quarter of your farm system in that blockbuster trade. So unless you want to admit defeat and say, okay, it was just for Robinson Cano, you can. But that would just be really, 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 really sad. And as of right now, we know that when the Mets were trying to go after Brad Hand, I think last offseason, there was the whole question, he has to be the closer. He can't pitch in the 8th inning or the 7th inning. It won't work out for him. And turns out when the Mets got him, like in September, he said, "Oh, I don't really care what," So that was probably some BS talk, but still. As of right now, yeah, I think if you could put him in like maybe the eighth inning. I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm a fan by closer by committee. The closer role, in my opinion, should really just be, I guess, whoever is available. It's nice to have a guy that's designated for that spot, but hey, switch it up. Doesn't hurt. Alex says, I was watching MLB Network last night, and Tom Verducci said they pretty much have got to get a deal done by March 1st in order for the season to start on March 31st. Yeah, pretty much, man. That's really what it seems to be as of right now, and that's what I think it's probably going to be. Like I said, hopefully, fingers crossed, they can try and get some deal done by then. I mean, they're going to be meeting, I think, every day next week. So, if the meetings are not 15 minutes, they should get something done. I mean, these guys should be in the room every single day for, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., talking about the stuff. Get it done. Omar, what's going on? Omar says Kershaw to the Braves. Yeah, I mean, that can honestly be a pretty solid acquisition. I think realistically, I obviously don't see Kershaw going anywhere else besides the Dodgers or Rangers. But yeah, the Braves definitely, they definitely need some rotation help. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Mike Soroka. He probably won't be starting the season on time because of that Achilles tear, and then he got postponed. I mean, yeah, but you still got Max Fried, Ian Anderson's solid. Sports fan says, I would give Kenley a 2-year deal of $50 million. Would he take that after what he's seen with the other? He would be looking for a 4-year deal. Yeah, I mean, like I said, sports fan, we're going to have to see. Personally, as of right now, I'm more of a fan by closer by committee. Bringing in Jansen, I don't know what that's going to do with the closer role. Kobe says, how about Juan Soto denying that 13-year deal worth $351 million prior to the lockout? That was insane, man. That really was insane. I think it's safe to say that beforehand, I was honestly thinking Soto can get $400 million, but I just didn't know if the Nationals really had that much money and were willing to spend that much money. I think Juan Soto is a great guy to build around. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who was able to convince Soto that wasn't a good deal, but hey, what else is there to say? We'll see what he does. I mean, I know he's a free agent in 2 years, so whether he'll hit the market, whether he'll try and work something out with the Nationals once the lockout opens up. I don't know if it's the asking price or if he just wants to be on a competing team. I mean, is he willing to wait out the Nationals rebuild? Which, hey, I mean, it could be sooner rather, we'll see how long it takes. Kobe said, Stoney, what's going on? He says, hey, little bro, been a while. No worries, man. Good to have you here, though. Trey says, should the New York Mets sign Zach Greinke? As of right now, I wouldn't be against it, but only in the bullpen. I talked about him on a couple streams in the past. But as of right now, I wouldn't really be super happy with him in the rotation. I really feel he's out of his prime. I think it's safe to say he's had his fair share of problems. I mean, the barrels, the long ball has been really something for him. I just don't really think he would do well in New York going 5 innings, every 5 days or so. So yeah, I mean that's just my opinion, but if it's a bullpen role, I think he can give you 2-3 innings. He could kind of replace Rich Hill with the exclusion of him not being a lefty. So I think that could be fair, but like I said, I don't really have much of an interest in Zach Greinke. He's not what he used to be when he was with Kansas City or in the past. But I mean, hey, great career though. And yeah, I mean, Christian, yeah, I could also see what you're saying there, Christian, too. I think that is a fair point. This says Met should sign Clayton Kershaw. He's a lefty, won't be pricey, and has playoff experience. Yeah, I mean, the left-handed pitching thing is something. I know I say it in the past, and I'll repeat it again because why the heck not? I do value having a lefty in the rotation. I know some people say, "Oh, it should only be for the bullpen." Oh, it's not a big deal for the rotation, but I think it is because there's some teams out there in Major League Baseball that are absolutely trash against left-handed pitching. The Mets in 2021 Their offense could not hit the blind side of a ball on left-handed pitching. I mean, the Marlins had a left-handed pitching ace. They had an ace rotation of that, and they just couldn't get things done. So, and even if it's not a lineup, there's some guys out there that really struggle against lefties and, just put up completely different numbers. I mean, it's baseball. It's obviously going to happen. So I say, hey, why not? I mean, it's still questionable, what's going on with Peterson. He's a lefty. I mean, what's going on with Yamamoto? I mean, those are guys that, in my opinion, I don't think that they're going to be super reliable for you in 2021. But, yeah, we're going to have to see how that goes for the New York Mets ahead. Stoney says, you think we should still sign VR? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be against it. I think he's going to want to be a bench role, and I would have no problem with that. I just don't know how willing VR is going to be to take a bench role. I think that at his age, he's like 32, 33. I think he may want an everyday role, and I don't think the Mets could guarantee that unless there's an injury at like second base or, third base with Escobar, knock on wood. Then he obviously would get the playing time. He's not an outfielder. But I would have no problem with him being a bench bat or, if someone needs a day off, he pops right into that spot. He was awesome. I mean, he had the second most home runs for the New York Mets right behind Pete Alonso. He had some insane power in his bat. He had some great speed on the base paths. Besides him getting picked off like 30 times, he really was a solid player, no complaints. I mean, he hit for a fair average, hit for getting on base a fair amount of time, had some power, above average defense. Fair speed. He stole a couple bags. Really solid guy. Like I said, I'd have no problem with him being a bench role. I just don't know. As of right now, are the Mets going to be willing? I mean, in terms of the contract, I don't give a crap about that. It's just how willing are the Mets going to be able to play him as much as they want to. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to see how that goes for those teams ahead. Michael says, what do you predict the NL East will look like in 3 to 5 years? Ooh, that's a good question. So I guess it's really going to come down to, I guess, as of right now, you have the Mets. Mets have a good future. I mean, it's really going to see with the Mets what happens with Brett Baty, what happens with Francisco Alvarez, what happens with Mark Vientos. He could be a DH possibly. If Mauricio gets the call up, I don't know what they'll do with him. If those guys could pan out to be what they're expected to, you could have a really, really, really solid infield core with Alonso, Alvarez, Beatty. I don't know what they're doing with Mauricio. You could have Vientos in that DH spot because he has some insane power that he could show off there. So that could really be something working out there. The pitching staff, you'll have DeGrom a little bit older. I don't know if Scherzer's going to be gone, and Scherzer's going to be gone in 5 years. Contract will be over with the Mets then. I know you said 3, so then it won't, but in 5 years it will. Hopefully McGill could be more developed and more mature. Hopefully same thing for Peterson. Hopefully same thing with Walker too. He could start to get back into that groove of pitching. Carrasco will probably be a little bit older. He'll be a veteran. So that's going to be interesting to see, I guess, really how that pans out. We're going to have to see how that goes, yeah. Obviously, you have the Nationals currently rebuilding, so I guess not really worried in terms of them. I mean, Marlins are going to be a solid 500 and above ball club, in my opinion. I think they'll finish around 500 in 2022. I mean, they got a nice young rotation that could easily put up solid stuff. Not worried about that whatsoever. They have a solid offensive core. They don't have much power, so maybe if they can go for if they can go for a power bat or two, but they have speed, they're young, and athleticism. That could really get far. I mean, the goal is to score runs, and I think those guys are more than capable of doing that. You have the Phillies. Phillies are an odd team because it's like they have like 3 moves exactly, and I feel they're a solid team. I think their infield is horrible defensively. I think if you bring in 1 or 2 solid defensive guys, that could really help out their infield. I mean, whether you put Alec Boehm at DH and then you bring in a natural third baseman, that could really mean something. Like I said, the Phillies are going to need to do a lot of things for their future. Obviously they need some defenses that are number 1 pretty much all over. As of right now, they need some help in the outfield. If you can get a guy next to Bryce Harper, if you put him in center and then you move someone in right, that could also work. And obviously they need some pitching. They need some bullpen help. yeah, that's going to be something else. Who else you have? Braves, I mean, yeah, they're in the same category. The Mets definitely contending. And, yeah, that's it, I guess. Alexander says, hello, Hayden, how are you doing? I think the season should start on time if they're meeting for 7 days next week. Yeah, I mean, I think so, man. I mean, fingers crossed. I'm thinking maybe worst case scenario that both sides, I guess, to an extent, meet next week. Maybe worst case scenario, the season gets delayed a week or two, and then they make that week or two up in November and October, and you just pray it's like not in Boston. You think the Mets will get Soto in 3 years? Yeah, probably not. Kobe says, how many games are you planning to attend this season? I'm supposed to planning to be, attending a couple non-Met games, which will be talked about later, but hopefully going to go to a couple Mets and Marlins games down here. So that is the goal. Trey says, would you agree that the bullpen is what the Mets should go after once the lockout is lifted? 100%, man. The bullpen is absolutely what the New York Mets need to target. No doubt about it. I think in terms of this Mets bullpen, we saw the starting rotation has a domino effect on how well the bullpen can perform and maintain their job. So I think it's going to come down to other things to determine how well the bullpen is going to be. I think Seth Lugo's going to have a bounce back year. I think Trevor May is going to have a bounce back year, but he was fine. But I think he'll be a little bit more dominant than I guess what we thought he was in Minnesota. Miguel Castro, I have no idea. He's still a question mark where the command will be something, and then he'll wind up walking the park. I mean, are they going to bring back Familia on a short-term deal? This rate, it seems they are. You have both Diaz's, Yenzi, and Edwin. Maybe you can move a guy like Peterson and McGill in there, kind of like what the Brewers did with Corbin Burns. Maybe, something like that. Try to develop and get them to eat innings more. I think that could be something really interesting. Gallipo says, what are they going to take out the guy? Yeah, so the second base rule, yes, they are most likely going to get rid of that. I haven't heard anything about them keeping it or getting rid of it, so I imagine they are getting rid of it. Yeah, I think they are going to get rid of that. Alex says the minors make nothing unless ranked, but the owners are strapped for their surgeries and training. Owners should pay. Yeah, I agree, man, 100%. I mean, a lot of these guys, they come from, international countries, the DR, the PR, Honduras, Nicaragua, countries that unfortunately, they a lot of these guys may not have the luxuries like Mike Trout or, a lot of these guys who have, $400 million, So, yeah, I guess that's the case for those guys. So I agree with you that. I will say the minor leaguers are being mistreated. I think they are being belittled. They have it much worse. Karen says, great stream. Fingers crossed. Absolutely. Appreciate you tuning in, Karen. Stoney says, do you think we need some help in the bullpen? Yeah, I did talk about that. Hopefully you did hear that comment. Elliot, what's going on? Elliot says, is Buck Showalter or Aaron Boone more under pressure in 2022? Ooh, that's a good question. I'm going to say Buck Showalter. Just because we know the Yankees' expectations, we know the Mets' expectations. The Mets' expectations are to try and get to the playoffs. The Yankees do that every season, so that's fair. But the Mets, they're not used to getting to the playoffs. Yankees did it, every single year in the 90s and in the early 2000s. Mets aren't used to that. So that's what I think is going to be interesting. As of right now, I would really think it's Buck Showalter just because of the lineup you're giving him. You're giving him a high offensive productive lineup. You're giving him a solid pitching staff, two of the best pitchers in baseball, a dude who is kind of trying to make his managerial resurgence. Because, he's coming off a hard time in Baltimore. Will he be able to, I guess, pen out to be the real manager he is? He's given a solid analytical crew. He's been given, a solid ball club. We saw he was with the Orioles when they had their unfortunate Waterloo, I guess you could say. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to see how that goes for them. Obviously, I think Aaron Boone definitely will have a lot to face with. I think they're going to have to try and figure out pretty much, are they a strikeout and power lineup? I think the Yankees need some more light contacted hitters like a Trevor Story or someone like that to put at third base. Their infield defensively is also atrocious, so they need to work out something there. I think first base they need to address. Yankees got some other stuff too, as well as Boone. And, I feel bad. A lot of people blame Boone, but I think it's more Cashman who's been providing him with this lineup. Sony says, when's the next lockout meeting going to be? It's going to be Monday. They're going to be meeting Monday. I couldn't tell you what time. Kobe, what's going on? He says, should the Mets have a 6-man rotation? I would honestly say yes. If you were to ask me last year at this time, I'd say no, but I'm going to say yes. Just because the two guys you have in the top of the rotation are DeGrom and Scherzer. Both of those guys are going to be injury prone. Scherzer is getting up there in age, and he's injury prone. And then DeGrom is coming off of that. We know that he possibly has that UCL tear. I don't know if that's confirmed or if that's just BS shenanigans. So I'm not really sure, to be honest with you. But as of right now, I would say yes. It would be nice. Who is that 6-man going to be? Is that going to be like a McGill? Is that going to be a Peterson? Is that going to be someone they sign outside? Is it going to be someone you can kind of flip-flop with? I mean, I think it would give the bullpen some rest to an extent, maybe. So I think that could be really solid. Yes, DeGrom and Scherzer will have less innings pitched. Their stats may not look as good as they are. But, hey, I'm willing to take that risk if it means DeGrom and Scherzer can stay healthy and pitch. If you have a 5-man rotation, they're probably not going to pitch as many games because they're going to be sitting on the IL on the bench. Christian says, where in Florida do you live? I live in Wellington. So you live in Miami, so I am an hour north, I guess. That's pretty cool, man. Hopefully Diaz needs to bounce back. Yeah, I mean, Diaz definitely needs to an extent to, I guess, be consistent. We know in the past he's pretty much been the guy to just come into games and just his command with his fastball and slider is not on point. The ball's flying all over. He's hitting batters. He needs to try and lock something down. LFGM, of course. Christian says, I'm going to be getting season ticket plan for the St. Lucie Mets and the Marlins now that I'm back in Florida. That's pretty cool, man. Yeah, that's really cool. Definitely saying St. Lucie Mets are cool and Marlins too. I mean, that they have a nice ballpark, in my opinion. The Marlins, Lone Depot Park isn't that bad. I mean, I think it's a nice ballpark. Definitely tropical theme, so very cool. So yeah, we're gonna have to see how that goes. Obviously, I hope you're able to get the ticket plan if there are. You'll get the St. Lucie Mets, obviously. Yeah, that's pretty cool, Christian. AB, what's going on? Michael says, what's your favorite ballpark? Good question. As of right now, I know I just mentioned Lone Depot. As of right now, my favorite ballpark, I'm going to be visiting Wrigley. I don't really want to say much, but I will be visiting Wrigley this season, so maybe that could be it, depending how my experience goes there. I would say probably Camden Yards. Camden Yards was a gorgeous ballpark. I mean, if you go I don't know, 2 blocks away from it, it's not the best area to hang around. But the ballpark itself is very nice. Sony says, I hear they're going to add more playoff teams. I did hear that too, and I really hope they don't. I am still on to this traditional 5 teams per league. You have your 3 division and the 2 wild card. I think that's fair. I mean, and especially for the Mets case, trying to make it, I want them to make it the normal way. Not, with 13 or, whatever they want teams making it. Trey says, who can replace Aaron Loop in free agency? As of right now, it's going to be hard to who replaces him, whether that's a guy like Andrew Chafin. Thing about bullpen pitchers is that, they're so ambiguous. I mean, you really can't rely on them necessarily because each year they're different. I mean, each game they're different. I mean, Aaron Loop, I didn't really know much about the dude before this season, and he put up an historic Cy Young season. And, I mean, can he remain to be like that? Hopefully. CJ, what's going on, brother? CJ says, let's go Cardinals. This lockout needs to end. Yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm really hoping this lockout can end soon. Christian, what's going on? Oh, yeah. Christian also says Mets seem to have a ton of interest in Taylor Rogers from the Twins to replace Loop. There have been multiple reports linking him to the Mets. Yeah, Rogers would also be a solid guy. Definitely him and May have some experience together, so they could definitely combine some of that. That'd be a nice little bullpen mix there. But you definitely need some lefty. You definitely need some remedy for that lefty presence in the bullpen. I mean, you lost Hill, who I thought would have been a solid lefty to have in that bullpen. If there's an injury, he can be a starter. He can give you 3-4 innings in that bullpen if someone gets taken out early. I thought he would have been nice. But right now, you're limited. So the Mets are going to have to make some moves for lefties. I don't know if there's someone they call up in the farm, but hey, they're going to have to make some moves. I appreciate it, Stoney, very much. I appreciate it, brother. So we're probably going to call it a stream here. I do appreciate you guys tuning in to the stream very much. As always, this was definitely a great stream. Obviously with what's going on with Major League Baseball, it's been really tough. Hopefully, now that spring training is kind of going to be delayed, only by 6-7 days, though. I guess it's kind of been obvious that it was going to, but hey, I guess that's the case. Oh, well, kind of upset about it, but hey, what could I say? That's how the cookie is going to crumble. Hopefully, they are meeting this week. Next week, I guess I should say. They are going to be meeting Monday and every single day that week, I believe, maybe until Friday. I'm not sure when they'll stop. But, now that the fact is they have a sense of urgency, and this is the attitude they should have had since December. I mean, that's the attitude I had since December. But unfortunately, I'm a baseball fan. So, I mean, it's like, hey, how much can I say? But yeah, point is, this is the attitude they should have had all offseason when it came to what was going on with these teams. So, oh well, that's all you could say. We're going to have to see. So yeah, I do appreciate you guys tuning in to the stream as always. I appreciate everyone. Trey, Santiago, Kobe, Cal, Christian, Stoney, CJ, Trey, Michael, AB, Cal, Kobe, Elliot, Karen, Alex, Galapos, Alexander, another Christian, Omar, Ibindos, and if I missed you, my apologies. Hopefully I got everyone, but I do appreciate you guys tuning in. Of course, if you guys are rewatching this on replay, I appreciate it. Definitely hits my heart. Thank you for staying till the end. And for you guys that are watching live or on replay, please smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, give this stream a like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends about this channel. We are on the mission to 1,000 subscribers, so definitely let's try and get to that. Otherwise, I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Let's end this lockout. That's really all I got to say. LFGM. Let's freaking go, Mets. Let's end this lockout, baby. Till next time, baseball fans. See ya.